Hey Reddit, I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. I've been married to my wife, Lisa, not her real name, for nearly 7 years. We met in our mid 20s, had that whirlwind romance people talk about, and tied the knot less than 2 years later. At the time, it felt like I had hit the jackpot. Beautiful, funny, wild in bed, and full of life. Lisa could light up a room, but now I realize that fire can also burn everything to the ground. We don't have kids, just our dog Max, and mortgage on a decent house in a quiet suburban neighborhood. I work as a paramedic, mostly on night shifts. Lisa works at a local office and keeps regular 9 to 5 hours. That mismatch didn't seem like a problem at first. She said she liked the alone time. Gives me a chance to miss you, she used to joke. I thought we were solid. But over the past year, I started noticing changes, subtle ones. Nothing obvious at first, just her spending more time on her phone, locking it when she didn't used to, laughing at messages she wouldn't explain, and being strangely distant after I'd come back from long shifts. When I asked her if everything was okay, she'd brush it off. We're fine. You're just paranoid. Maybe you need more sleep. It's crazy how someone can gaslight you in such a gentle, practiced way that you don't even realize it's happening. I chalked everything up to work stress, both mine and hers. I kept telling myself, she's just tired. You're tired. Stop being dramatic. But something in my gut kept telling me something's off. I should have trusted that instinct. A few weeks after I posted part one, or at least a few weeks after I started thinking about all this seriously, the signs became harder to ignore. It started with small things. One night I came home from a 12-hour shift and found a second wine glass in the sink. Lisa was already asleep, apparently. She claimed she had a glass of wine just to unwind, but that glass had lipstick on it. She wasn't wearing any, not even chapstick. I checked the trash, found 2 used condoms in the bathroom trash under a bunch of balled up tissues. We hadn't had sex in nearly 2 weeks, and when we did, it was rushed, distant, like she was doing me a favor. I started paying closer attention. Then came the phone. I'll admit, I snooped. I waited until she went to shower and looked at her phone. Locked. She had never done that before. That was my first real slap in the face. Heck, she used to joke that I was boring because I never went through her stuff. Now she had a 6-digit passcode and suddenly guarded it like Fort Knox. That's when the pit in my stomach became something darker, confirmation bias turning into actual evidence. Then came the final straw. I got off work early one night, around 3 a.m. We had a slow night, and I convinced the guys to let me clock out a bit early. I didn't text Lisa, wanted to surprise her. Pulled up to the house. All the lights were off, except the one in the guest bedroom. We never used that room, not since her mom stayed over 2 years ago. I went in quietly. I wish I could forget what I saw next. I really do. Through the crack in the door, I saw Lisa on top of someone, moaning, hair all over the place. Her voice, filthy. She never sounded like that with me anymore. She was enjoying it a lot. Then I saw the guy's face, our next door neighbor. Tom, married, 2 kids. I didn't go in. I backed out, closed the front door louder than usual, sat in my car with my hands shaking. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat. That was the moment I knew my marriage was over. After sitting in the car for maybe 20 minutes, heart pounding, hands shaking, I finally walked back into the house. No more tiptoeing, no more pretending. My brain had already flipped a switch. I wasn't a husband coming home anymore. I was a man about to burn the illusion down. I didn't knock. I slammed the guest bedroom door open so hard it hit the wall. There they were. Lisa froze mid-motion, eyes wide, hair a mess, completely naked. Tom scrambled, trying to cover himself like a coward with a pillow. The silence in that moment was louder than any scream I could have made. Lisa shrieked, grabbing a blanket. "What the Jason? What are you doing? You scared me to death." Shh was yelling at me. That's when I knew just how far gone she was. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I just stood there and said, "You disgust me." Tom was stammering, trying to put on his pants, mumbling some nonsense about, "We didn't mean for this to happen." Lisa didn't even look ashamed. She was furious, like, I was the one who betrayed her. "You're never home," she screamed. "What did you expect? I'm lonely, Jason. I'm not a robot. I have needs." She said it like I was the one who failed the marriage, like working night shifts to pay our mortgage was some sort of betrayal. I told Tom to get the hell out. He tried to explain. I told him if he didn't leave in 10 seconds, I'd make him leave through the goddamn window. He left. Fast. Lisa followed me down the hall, still yelling. You're being dramatic? This doesn't mean what you think means. You weren't even supposed to be home. I laughed. Actually laughed. That's your defense? That I ruined your plan to cheat quietly? She started crying, screaming about how I invaded her privacy and how she made a mistake and how she's still the same person. I didn't say much. I just walked to the bedroom, packed a bag, took the dog, and left. She kept calling after me. Where are you going? You're just going to abandon me. I didn't answer. She didn't deserve one. I checked into a cheap hotel that night with Max, our dog, and just sat on the edge of the bed for what felt like hours. The adrenaline wore off, and then it hit me all at once. The betrayal, the humiliation, the loss. I wanted to punch a hole in the wall. I wanted to throw up. I wanted to crawl out of my skin. All of it. At the same time, you know what's the worst part? I didn't even cry that first night. I just sat there, numb. It's like my brain was protecting me from short circuiting. I barely slept. The next few days were hell. Lisa blew up my phone. Calls, texts, voicemails ranged from sobbing apologies to outright gaslighting. It didn't mean anything. You were never around. It only happened a few times. We didn't even finish. Are you seriously going to throw away our whole life over one mistake? One mistake? It wasn't one mistake. It was repeated, calculated betrayal in our home, in the guest room where my mother once stayed, with the guy whose kid I helped pull out of a snowbank last winter. I started having nightmares, not of the cheating itself, of her voice, her face when she screamed at me like I was the problem. I couldn't get it out of my head. My coworkers noticed. I was zoning out, not eating, barely talking. One of them, James, pulled me aside and said, "You look like you've seen war, man." I had. A war I didn't even know I was fighting until I'd already lost. The worst moment, when I caught myself wondering if I deserved it, if maybe she was right, if working nights trying to build us a future had somehow driven her to this. That's when I knew I needed help. So I called a therapist, booked an appointment, and I called a lawyer because as much as I still loved the woman I thought Lisa was, um, I knew I had to prepare to let go of the woman she really is. I wish I could say it was an easy decision. It wasn't. You don't spend nearly a decade with someone, build a life, dream about kids and vacations and growing old together, and just flip a switch. Even after everything she did, part of me still wanted to believe she could somehow fix it, or that I could fix me and it would all go back to normal. But the truth, there was no going back. A few days after the confrontation, I met with the divorce lawyer. Nice guy, didn't sugarcoat anything. Told me that since we didn't have kids, the process would be cleaner, less messy, at least legally. Emotionally, a minefield. He advised I stop talking to Lisa directly and communicate only through him. So I blocked her. That same evening, she showed up at my hotel, banging on the door, screaming, Jason, open the door. You coward, you're just going to walk away? I didn't open it. She sat in the hallway for 2 hours, crying loud enough for the whole damn floor to hear. Told me through the door she was pregnant, then 5 minutes later admitted she lied just to see if you'd come out. That was it for me. Done. The next morning, I signed the initial divorce paperwork and sent it over to her lawyer. Yep, she got one too, probably to try to squeeze more out of me in the settlement. A week later, I went back to the house for the first time to grab the rest of my stuff while she was at work. I found something unexpected, a box of letters in the closet. Not from her, from Tom. The affair had been going on for almost a year. He wrote her love notes, actual letters, talked about how he wished she was the mother of his kids, how he hated his wife, and how you and I were meant to be. She had kept them, hidden them. She wasn't sorry she cheated. She was sorry she got caught. I took pictures of everything and gave them to my lawyer, just in case she tried to play the victim in court. That night, I went back to the hotel and slept like I hadn't in weeks. It was over. The marriage was dead. I was finally ready to start burying it. It's been 4 months since that night. The divorce is finalized. The house was sold. I moved into a small apartment across town. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. Quiet, clean, peaceful. I see Max, my dog, sleeping at the foot of my bed, and I think, yeah, I lost a marriage, but I kept my soul. Lisa tried a few more stunts along the way. Showed up at my workplace once, crying in the parking lot. sent me an email 2 weeks ago with a picture of us from our wedding day and the subject line, "We can still fix this." I didn't reply. Tom and his wife, divorced too. Heard through the grapevine that he moved in with Lisa shortly after. Good. They deserve each other. Two liars in a glass house. Therapy helped. A lot. For weeks, I blamed myself, wondered what I could have done differently. But my therapist helped me see that love doesn't require perfection, but cheating requires a decision. And Lisa made hers over and over again while I was out working my ass off. She didn't just break my heart, she set fire to the life we built together and then tried to blame me for not grabbing a hose fast enough. What did I learn? A few things. Listen to your gut. That feeling that something's off, it's usually right. Love is not blind. Infatuation is. Real love sees clearly and still chooses loyalty. And lastly, no matter how much it hurts, walking away from someone who disrespects you is always the right move. I'm not bitter. I'm better. I still believe in love. I still believe there are good women out there who would never do what Lisa did. But I'm not rushing anything. I'm learning to be okay alone first. If you're reading this and you're in a situation where something feels off, where your partner makes you feel like you're always not enough, don't ignore it. You deserve someone who respects you in both your presence and your absence. Thanks for listening. So, remember how Lisa and Tom ran off into the sunset after blowing up both our marriages? Well, it turns out the sunset was more like a dumpster fire. I hadn't planned on hearing anything more about them. I was doing everything I could to move on: therapy, work, gym, even started hiking on weekends. But the universe has a sense of humor. One night, James, my coworker and now good friend, sends me a screenshot from Facebook. It's Lisa. A post that read, "Sometimes people show their true colors after the dust settles. Funny how the person who loved you so much can turn cold overnight." Then in the comments, gold. Apparently, Lisa and Tom are having issues. According to a mutual friend, the same old cycle started repeating. Tom's still married emotionally to chaos. He doesn't trust Lisa. Ironic, huh? And she's constantly accusing him of cheating. She even tried calling me again. Blocked number, left a voicemail. "I made a mistake. You were the only one who ever really loved me. Tom isn't who I thought he was. Yeah, no thanks." Turns out when you build a relationship on lies, cheating, and manipulation, you don't get a fairy tale. You get karma. Then came the real twist. Tom's wife, ex-wife now, Rachel, reached out to me. I'd never spoken to her before, but she found me on Instagram and sent a polite message asking if I'd be open to talking. At first, I hesitated. I mean, what could we possibly have to say? But I agreed. And you know what? It was cathartic. We shared our timelines, our stories. We both cried a little, laughed a little too, because their lives were that absurd. Turns out Tom told her I had been the one cheating on Lisa and that he was comforting her through it. Unbelievable. Rachel and I ended up talking for hours. It was weirdly healing, speaking to someone who got it completely, someone who understood the gaslighting, the betrayal, the confusion. She's doing better now. So am I. And Lisa, she's moved twice in the last 2 months, job hopped 3 times. Her Instagram is full of passive aggressive quotes and badly filtered selfies. You can always tell when a narcissist's mask starts slipping. They get loud. Meanwhile, I'm finally quiet, and it's peaceful. I wasn't looking for anything, not a relationship, not even a date. After everything with Lisa, I was emotionally wiped. My trust meter was at 0. I focused on myself, therapy, gym, reading, and a lot of walking Max. He's been my anchor through this entire storm. But life has a funny way of surprising you when you least expect it. It started with coffee. There's this little cafe near my new apartment, quiet, indie music, killer espresso. I started going there on weekends to read and reset. One Saturday morning, I sat at my usual table when I noticed the barista was new. Her name tag read Emily. She smiled when I ordered. Nothing flirty, just kind, real. Over the next few weeks, we had small chats, weather, coffee beans, books I saw her reading behind the counter. It was easy, effortless in a way I hadn't felt in years. One rainy afternoon, I forgot my umbrella. She offered to walk me to my car with hers. We stood outside talking for almost an hour, soaked, laughing, completely losing track of time. She wasn't prying or intense, just genuine. I told her I'd been through a divorce recently. She didn't flinch. She told me she'd had her own heartbreaks too, different circumstances but similar feelings. that life has a way of breaking us just enough to let the light in somewhere new. I asked if she wanted to grab lunch sometime. She said yes. And just like that, something inside me shifted. I wasn't in love, not yet, but I wasn't stuck anymore. I wasn't bitter or angry or carrying Lisa's betrayal like a weight around my neck. I felt ready, ready to feel something different, something honest. And for the first time in a long time, I looked forward to something that wasn't just survival. Just when things were starting to feel normal, she came back. Not literally at my door, but in ways just messy enough to remind me who she really was. It started with a message request on Facebook from a burner account. No profile picture, no name, just, "So you've already replaced me, huh?" Blocked. 2 days later, Emily mentioned someone had been coming into the cafe asking questions. A blonde woman, early 30s, kind of intense, said she was looking for her husband. My blood ran cold. Lisa had never been to that cafe. She didn't even know about Emily. Yet, somehow, she found her. Emily wasn't rattled. She asked the woman to leave, told her she wouldn't tolerate harassment or weird stalking vibes. I admired that. I, on the other hand, was pissed. I called Lisa, first time in months, straight to voicemail. I left a message: "Stay out of my life, stay away from Emily. You made your choice, now live with it. If you harass her again, I will get the police involved." 2 hours later, a flurry of texts came through from a new number. "You're seriously threatening me now?" I was just trying to talk. "She doesn't even know you like I do. You think she'll love you when she finds out what you're really like? You're pathetic." Classic Lisa. Attack, guilt, manipulation, rinse, and repeat. I blocked the number. Then I called my lawyer. She advised me to start documenting everything: screenshots, timestamps, even Emily's account of the cafe incident. It's not that I think Lisa would go completely off the rails, but let's be honest, I never thought she'd sleep with the neighbor either. I started carrying a small voice recorder, just in case. Funny how the woman who betrayed me without a second thought now acts like she's the victim. But I've learned one thing for sure: people like Lisa aren't interested in love or closure. They're interested in control. And when they lose it, they spiral. I knew this conversation was coming. Emily had been incredibly patient. She never pushed for details about my divorce, and I never dumped the full story on her. But after the weird run in with Lisa at the cafe and the stalker style messages, I realized it was time. She deserved the truth. All of it. We met for dinner at a quiet Italian place, our usual Friday spot. She knew something was on my mind. I could tell by the way she looked at me during the appetizer, head tilted slightly, waiting. So I told her everything: the night shifts, the growing distance, the gut feeling I kept ignoring, the neighbor, walking in on them, the screaming, the lies, the aftermath. I even showed her some of the messages Lisa sent recently. Emily sat quietly through it all, barely touching her food. Not with judgment, just listening, taking it in. When I finished, I braced myself for her reaction. What she said? "You didn't deserve any of that. And I'm glad you're out of it." Just like that. No dramatics, no pity. Then she leaned in and said something that really stuck with me. "You know, healing isn't about forgetting. It's about making sure it never controls you again." We sat there in silence for a few moments, the weight of the past still hanging in the air, but it felt lighter somehow, like I just dropped a backpack I'd been carrying for miles. We talked for hours that night about trust, boundaries, emotional scars, real stuff. And I realized something huge. I wasn't scared of the future anymore, because this time I wasn't with someone who needed to win every conversation or hide behind lies. I was with someone who just listened. And in that moment, I understood what it really meant to start over, not by pretending the past didn't happen, but by finding someone who doesn't punish you for surviving it. I should have known she wasn't finished. It had been a few weeks since the last text. Things with Emily were steady, nothing rushed, just honest and refreshing. I was finally sleeping better, eating like a normal person, laughing again. Then one night, I came home from work and found her sitting on the steps outside my apartment building. Lisa, wearing one of those two perfect outfits she always used to pick out when she was trying to get her way. Lipstick, heels, crocodile tears already locked and loaded. I froze. She stood up like we were old friends. "Jason, can we talk?" I didn't say anything, just stared at her. "I've been thinking a lot about everything, about us." She started walking toward me. I stepped back. This isn't happening, Lisa. You don't belong here. That set her off. Oh, come on. You think this little barista romance means anything? She doesn't know you like I do. You think she'll stay when things get hard? I could feel the anger rise, but I didn't let it win. I just said, she knows the truth. That's more than I ever got from you. And I turned to go inside. That's when she snapped. You're throwing away a marriage for some coffee girl? You cheated, Lisa, remember, with a guy who lives next door. Her eyes welled up, but I wasn't falling for it. Not this time. I made a mistake, she said, suddenly calm. A stupid, horrible mistake, but we were miserable. You were never home. I felt invisible. I needed someone. You needed someone, I repeated. And I needed a wife. You chose a quick fix over honesty. That's on you. Then I said the only thing left to say, go home and don't ever show up here again. If you do, I'm calling the police. She stood there for a moment, silent, shaking, her mascara starting to smear, and then, finally, she walked away. I waited until her car pulled off before going upstairs. I locked the door, sat on the couch, let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding for 3 years. It was over. Not the paperwork, not the emotional bruises, but the part of me that still wondered, what if? Gone. She had one last move, and she played it, but I didn't flinch. And that, to me, felt like victory. It was a Tuesday morning, gray sky, drizzle, the kind of weather that perfectly fit the mood. I took the day off work and went to the courthouse by myself. Emily offered to come with me, but I told her I needed to do this solo. Lisa showed up 10 minutes late. Of course, she wore all black, like she was mourning something. Ironic, considering the funeral had taken place months ago, the day I caught her in bed with the neighbor. We sat in silence in the hallway outside the courtroom. I didn't look at her. She tried a few fake coughs to get my attention. Nothing. When our case was called, we went in, answered a few questions, confirmed that all assets had been divided and no reconciliation was happening. Lisa tried one last Hail Mary. Your Honor, I just want it noted that I never wanted this. I believe we could have worked through it if... The judge cut her off. That's not relevant. The court is here to finalize a legal dissolution, not rehash emotional grievances. Bless that man. 10 minutes later, I walked out of that courtroom a free man. I stood on the courthouse steps, staring up at the sky. It had stopped drizzling. The clouds were breaking. Sunlight spilled through like a quiet promise. I should have felt bitter, or broken, or angry. Instead, I felt light. Not happy. Light. Not I'm about to skip through a field light. Just clean. Like taking off a jacket that's been soaked in betrayal and lies and letting it drop to the floor. Lisa tried to catch me outside. So that's it? I looked her dead in the eye and said, that's it. No goodbye. No dramatic exit. I just turned and walked away. I got in my car, turned on the radio, and drove straight to Emily's place. When she opened the door and saw me standing there, she knew. She didn't say a word, just hugged me. And in that hug, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. I hadn't thought about Brad, the neighbor, for a while. After the divorce was final, he became just another ghost in my rearview mirror. But small towns talk, and a few weeks after the paperwork was signed, I ran into an old friend at the hardware store, the kind of guy who always knows a little too much about everyone. He smirked when he saw me. You hear about Brad? I shook my head. He's getting a divorce too. Wife found out everything. You weren't the only one he was screwing around on her with. I just blinked. Wait, Brad was married? Apparently, he had been. His wife lived part-time in another city for work. I guess Brad used those empty weekends to entertain himself, with my wife and God knows who else. His own wife found out recently. Full-on explosion. She kicked him out, sold half his stuff, and filed for divorce within a week. Even better, she posted the whole story on Facebook, tagged him too. Half the neighborhood saw it. Brutal. I can't lie, part of me felt vindicated. Not because I enjoy watching people suffer, but because consequences finally caught up to someone who thought he was untouchable. Brad lost everything. His wife, his reputation, even his job, eventually. Something about inappropriate behavior with a coworker. Classic. He moved out a few streets over. I saw him once, pulling weeds in his overgrown yard, looking like he hadn't slept in a month. We made eye contact for half a second. I nodded. He looked away. No words needed. That was the first time I realized I'd truly moved on. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want closure. I just wanted distance. And I had it. Because people like Brad and Lisa, they build their lives on lies. Eventually, that kind of foundation crumbles. All I had to do was survive long enough to watch it happen. Life didn't flip overnight. Healing is messy, like cleaning out an attic you've ignored for years. You find things you forgot, things you buried, and things you're glad to throw away. But day by day, Emily Day, it got better. She never pushed, never tried to fix me. She just listened. We'd stay up late talking about everything: music, childhood, fears, favorite comfort foods. I forgot what it felt like to be seen like that. No manipulation, no second guessing every word. We took things slow, no big declarations, no rushing into anything, just real moments, real laughs, real healing. One Saturday, we drove out to the coast. No plans, just fresh air, loud music, and bad gas station snacks. At one point, we pulled over near a cliff, watched the ocean roll in, and sat in silence. She took my hand and said, "You don't have to say anything, but if this is the start of something, I'm in, all in. No secrets, no half truths." I didn't say anything for a long time. Then I just nodded and said, "Me too." It was the first time I used those words in a long time and meant them. I got back into hobbies I forgot I loved, started jogging again, cooking for fun, even joined a weekend trivia team. We're terrible, but hilarious. Lisa? Haven't heard from her since her last meltdown. Brad? Still a neighborhood punchline. Me? I'm finally learning how to live without the weight of betrayal sitting on my chest. I'm not just surviving anymore. I'm living. And that feels like the most unexpected plot twist of all. It's been a year, one full revolution around the sun since I walked in on my wife and the neighbor, the moment that cracked my world wide open. And now I can finally breathe. When it first happened, I thought my life was over, that everything I believed in, marriage, trust, stability, was some cruel joke. But I was wrong. It wasn't the end. It was a reset. I've learned a lot over the past year, some lessons harder than others. But if I could go back and talk to the version of myself who stood frozen in that doorway, watching his wife destroy everything, I'd say this. One, trust your gut. Those little red flags, the weird behavior, you're not crazy. Your instincts know. Listen. Two, people will lie. Some people lie to survive, others lie because it's who they are. Don't waste your time trying to understand why someone chose to betray you. Accept it and move on. Three, you are not what happened to you. Being cheated on doesn't make you weak or stupid or less than. It makes you human. Don't carry their shame on your back. Four, healing takes time. There's no fast forward button. Some days you'll feel okay, some days you'll feel shattered all over again. That's normal. Keep going. Five, the right people don't make you feel crazy. When you meet someone who truly cares, it's calm, it's safe. You don't have to beg for honesty, you don't have to monitor behavior, you just know. Emily and I are doing well. We're not rushing anything, we're just building slow and honest. And me, I'm not angry anymore. I'm not bitter. I'm free. If you're reading this and you're in the middle of your own heartbreak, just know it gets better. You're not alone. You're stronger than you think. And one day you'll look back and realize the worst thing that ever happened to you was actually the beginning of your best life.